Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm Part 21, Essentiality. Look at that, we created an entire new word. Starts with the sound E, ends with the sound E. We pronounce no complete words when we pronounce that word, and we already use forms of that word in everyday conversation. So this lesson, or just discussion, will be mainly some linguistics, some proofs, and some logic. We'll jump back over to physics, try to, again, just provide more physical insight there. But I just wanted to, talk about what I'm trying to do and how I prove things, and just some more clarity on the ideas I've already presented. But, right, essentiality. I've never even Googled that. You guys have my Googling history. But what is essential? An essential worker. During COVID-19, we have essential workers. Well, an essential worker is a required worker. Essential is required. But how about essentially, right? Essential, essentially. Essentially means basically. So that's a direct logical proof. Same sound, same word family, literally just extending the logic and the vowels, and it changes, the iteration of the sound changes the logical meaning. Already proven right now in conversation. So what that shows you is, again, I don't know a direct numeric proof of iteration. You take a word with 4 letters, you change the second letter, and it becomes a different logical thing. Some formalization, that's what I'm going for logically. So I'm trying to derive Sensuality's word family. We've defined, right, everyone knows what life is. We've made that a more technical definition. But just to show you, right, this is to that, what that is to this, I'm trying to draw a new analogy, right? Metaphors versus similes. We've introduced the likeness bias. Similes use like or as. Metaphors are direct contextual mappings of language. Right, we've talked about, if someone's up in front of a room and they say like, they don't know what they're talking about. Because there's one sentiment, because sound is the basis of language, there's only really one metaphor, and that metaphor is experience. And you take that, the it is what it is statement, you add more sounds and differentiate different words, that expands our logical basis and our ability to talk about different things. So that's the range. Now we're trying to deduce the basis. So, right, these are all words, well, special, right, unique. What do these words mean? Special, unique. Sensor, right, from our definition and our derivations and proofings, that's sentience. Life, the ability to filter with your own choices. Specialty, uniqueness, focus. Sensority, don't know. This is the word I don't know for the reduction of the sensuality word family. Sensors, detect. Sensuality in general is life. Sensority, specialty, right? Direct, specialty, sensority. 3 syllables, 3 syllables. Specialty is right now defined, sensority, even with the definition of sensuality as life, and sensor as a person, human being, human being. So I don't know what sensority is. This is what I don't know linguistically, logically. But we can still make the deduction or the psychological or logical identity that sensuality, that is life, is proportional to speciality. That is the tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism. It is useful, it is efficient to differentiate our genome. That's why, unless you're one of those weird people out there, you don't fuck your cousins or your sisters. But this is the word family that I'm trying to deduce. Let me start over. So now in this lecture series, like I said, I do all of this research, and I'm still a person. It's still convoluted to me. I have to filter physics, linguistics, mathematics, logic, all of it. So we've introduced, and we've talked about spaceships and trying to build new engines. Preservation of dynamic. Rhythm is dynamic, right? Reality reiterates. Rhythm cycles. Cyclicity is iteration. To cycle is to iterate. So we'll get to that physically, but we'll try to get to that physically. But linguistically, it's the preservation of pronunciation. In one of the previous lessons I said, Do you speak when you pronounce a word, do you speak another complete word when you're with proper pronunciation, right? Sound is the basis of language. So if you can produce another word as you speak it, it can't be fundamentally general. Then I also said, right, can you deduce the letters to another complete word? That might be something there, but I really want to focus on preservation of pronunciation. When you speak a word in generality or in proper context, do you pronounce another complete word? That should be something. And what that will do is, right, goose versus geese, tomato versus tomato, data versus data, fish versus fishes, moose versus meese. Well, I guess goose versus geese, moose versus meese, and fish versus fishes, that's more of plurality versus singularity, as opposed to just pronunciation. But tomato versus tomato, data versus data, the preservation of pronunciation is directly why this occurs, right? To be a first principle scientist, you have to actually answer not profound questions, but questions everyone's aware of, but there are no answers. This is why. No one's ever formalized the proper understanding of syllability, and so you can't address language correctly. But now for the goose versus geese, the plurals, it will also be preservation of dynamic. But I just have down here number 5, plurality versus singularity. Simply in geometric linguistics, it's very apparent. Everyone knows you put an S at the end of a word, it means multiplicity. Right? We've covered E at the end of a word means generality. S at the end of the word means multiplicity, one too many. This is the symbolic representation. So in complete generality, you go from the suffix ality to alities. Again, there's the iteration of the sound E. So you have sensorality, life in general, sensoralities, the local economy of a species of fish versus apes versus Homo sapiens versus blah, blah, blah. But they all produce speciality, the desire to reproduce. So again, like I said, I don't know what the proof is, but the evidence is very clear, and the proof is under the preservation of pronunciation. Just another couple things to talk about for inflection and punctuation, right? How do we take the different nuances of sounds? We've talked about sentences a lot, but rhythm emphasizes syllability. When you have little kids and they draw out certain syllables and they're talking, or someone who's uncomfortable, they'll start stressing certain syllables. It's all because of word order, and logic of the preservation of pronunciation. So, right, we've talked about italics establish fundamental theorems, bold establishes emphasis, and capital letters represent like emphasis with emotion, like you're screaming at somebody. But rhythm emphasizes because of order, right? The order of the sounds is what matters, and that's the big idea of everything I'm saying here. But it's very easy to see, again, I don't know what the proof is, but it's very easy to see the already evidence. What's the difference between a conversation and conservation? Well, logically tremendous. A conversation is an interaction between two people using language. Conservation can be, conservation of momentum. It can be a bird, making its nest in order. It can be an electron following, the path of least resistance. So logically, there's, obviously tremendous difference. But linguistically, all you do is you flip the letters, the syllability of two letters, or you flip two letters and it changes the syllability, which it differentiates the logic tremendously, right? Conversation, conservation. You're flipping the S and the V in the same, right, the fourth spacing, the fourth letter of this word, the fourth letter of this word. So that's just a direct example of iteration of letters that changes the sounds, which changes the logic tremendously. And I have no idea how to connect this with the proof, but it's just there. So those are the big linguistic ideas I wanted to cover, and they're true. Another thing, just from the last episode, I wanted the plank, not proof. Right? Planking, when you like the exercise, you go to the gym, you just hold yourself up. I want you to plank forever. Right? You're not moving, so you're not doing any work, so you should be able to plank forever. Obviously you can't. So again, how does tension regulate the capacity for movement of an internal system? Tension, the word should pair to internal. Somehow tension describes the system of the internal energy content of a system. Now, how does we take that energy, tension, to momentum of there are no closed systems. Everything's in contact, nothing is touching. That's what I'm trying to bridge there physically. But for the preservation of dynamic as a physical construct, it's very easy to see with car wheels in rotation. Right? I said that I don't know what to do with rotation not being motion, but you can kind of evidently see that. Go watch a car commercial, or literally just go drive and watch a car. A car moving at about a consistent velocity, the tires are rotating. And when you're looking at the tires, they start to look like they're going backwards. So somehow a rotating system interacting with light, the resonance produced by the photons creates, again, it mirror reflects the symmetry of direction. It reflects, has mirror symmetry to something else. I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to guess. But this shows to me the preservation of dynamic between mass and light, and direction and rotation. Somehow rotation is internal, or I don't know. Because right, if I just took my marker and I was, had the position coordinates of this end, and I rotated it this way, well, there is some displacement, so some movement has occurred. Well, and I rotated all the way around 360, well, now if I did another snapshot there, you wouldn't know that it moved, but it did move. So, complete rotations have a mean displacement of 0, but it still moved. It still required a force to move it during that time. So again, we have to break down these conservation laws of, over the long time scales. Yes and no. Over the large time scales is an oversimplification. How do we deduce tension, completeness, motion? Again, still just it's a big jump for me. But those are the things I wanted to cover in this lesson. Essentiality, all of the linguistic stuff is very, very solidified. And in the Planck not proof is a not proof, but it highlights a genuine problem with our physics, same way the guitar demonstration does, and same with car wheels, rotation, and light. So keep thinking, please pay me sometime fucking soon, or just let me leave. Why can't I fucking leave this country? I don't know. Thanks for watching From Rhythm to Algorithm Part 21, Essentiality.